Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. Boy, we're in strange times, are we not?
Yes,
Think about it. Just a couple of years ago, would you have thought John Fetterman, the voice of reason for the Democrats,
the guy wearing the hoodie and shorts?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. The guy wearing the hoodie and shorts.
Hey, talk to the guy wearing the hoodie and shorts, would you?
Yeah.
He knows that's the reasonable guy.
Trying to get a straight answer?
Yeah.
Go to the guy in the hoodie and the shorts.
You see that really big bald guy wearing the hoodie and the shorts? See him?
Is he the janitor in the Senate office building? No.
See the coach?
He's the only reasonable Democratic senator.
See the guy that looks like a really bad PE teacher? Go ask him. He knows. He's the guy. Yeah.
Well, we'll have some audio from him coming up, but he basically said, stop calling Trump an autocrat. Don't force a government shutdown. Accept Trump's help on crime. Stand with Israel against radical Islam. And Mandami doesn't reflect our party. Well, actually, he's wrong on that one. It may not reflect him, but it does. Right. Mamdani does reflect the Democratic Party, right?
Define our party. Are you saying you're switching?
Oh my! And then you got the whole CBS thing, and every day that's just like big on social media. The left's going crazy on that one.
Yeah, they really are.
And it's
so they all out cancel CBS Saturday morning. You know, they let two of the anchors go. Well, my thought is, well, didn't you really let all three of the anchors go? I don't know if there is three anchors, but two of the anchors basically were let go. And the story is that they're pretty much doing away with that show. Number one, I didn't know there was a CBS Saturday morning. I know there's the Sunday morning thing because I see the Jane Pauley clips when she introduces someone else doing an interview with someone famous. On YouTube, I see those. So because I don't watch it on Sunday morning. It's just not my thing. But CBS Saturday morning, I thought, well, why would you do that? First of all, why would you do that to children? You should be showing cartoons. And this is part of the indoctrination now. Includes Saturday morning indoctrination instead of cartoons.
Well, that's the problem with this country. Mm-hmm. The networks aren't showing cartoons Saturday and Sunday morning all morning.
I wonder how many young people know now that used to be a thing. What age do you stop knowing that? What age is the cutoff?
That's a great point, yeah.
Because, man, for me, it was, a couple of things. I know Dad's going to want to sleep in until at least 7 or 7:30. And I know there's a bunch of sugary cereal in there, and we just got milk. Mom just went to the commissary on base, and so we got fresh milk, and we got some Cocoa Puffs, and I'm going in for some Scooby-Doo. Saturday morning, CBS News Saturday morning? What? Why? You already have the sun, because my thought is you skip the Saturday morning. I mean, does Fox News still do the money block thing on
I have no idea.
Saturday? I don't know either. But
you mean we're not talking cable, we're talking the network.
I know, but what I'm saying is Fox News even knows, all right, if they're still doing the entire money block, as they used to call it, then all right, you do something else on Saturday, because Sunday morning is your big news morning, both network and cable news. So you do something different on Saturday. I don't know why they would have done and spent the money on
even on Sunday.
Saturday
they used to have a ton of cartoons when we were growing up, and instead of now Bullwinkle J. Moose, we had Chuck Todd for years.
Yeah.
Close in resemblance, but the content was different.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a insult to Bullwinkle, but okay.
Rocky and the Flying Squirrel.
Bullwinkle was a critical thinker. Chuck Todd, not so much.
Natasha and Boris.
Yeah.
The
That was so Cold War cartoon, wasn't it? This is very good moose. Natasha and Boris. The Cold War.
Everybody even got involved in it. We had the Canadian program with Dudley Do-Right.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Right. He was a Mountie, wasn't he?
Yeah. That's exactly
right. Now I'm thinking to my Canadian friends, was that mocking you guys?
When you think about it at CBS, and we had mentioned it yesterday because we were just like, what kind of bizarro world are we in right now? I mean, who's spiking our drinks with something? But Bari Weiss, number one, if you would have said 5 years ago, Bari Weiss is going to take over CBS, you're like, there we go again. They're going to be radical left again, and they're just going to keep going down this stupid radical left. 5 years later,
had she come directly from the New York Times and gone to CBS, it would have been like, oh, okay.
Especially 5 years ago.
Yeah,
and now it's like the left. We need to get these right-wing radical conservatives out of our media.
Yeah.
Bari Weiss.
Yeah, former New York Times. Hello.
And the thing is, with her, and I realize how old I am when I keep referring to Bernard Goldberg and his book Bias. And he had a number of books out about media bias, but it all, and a lot of young people probably don't even know who Bernard Goldberg is. But he, remember when he was on HBO and did a ton of those, sports things. He would always do long-form sports stories and things like that, inspirational sports stories. But he had worked for Dan Rather at CBS. And to make a short story extremely long, he one time had a contractor at his house, and a contractor told him, he goes, well, you guys are biased. He goes, no, we're not. He goes, yes, you are. And I will give you an example of when you're biased. I'll let you know. I'll give you a call. And so he did. And he called him up one day, and he said, got the story. And it wasn't too long after they had the conversation. I've got it. I watched it. Here's your bias. You just did a story on Steve Forbes and the flat tax. So this goes back to the 90s.
Yeah.
Because when Forbes even was running for president way back then, how serious a bit it was, who knows. But I remember interviewing him in the mid-'90s. He was talking about it was the flat tax, the flat tax, the flat tax. And he said, go watch it and look how you started out. You start out with, by presenting the, Steve Forbes flat tax scheme. And Bernard Goldberg looked at it and he said, you're right. This is all biased. And everything, he said, I know. He said, I know people and I know economists that think the flat tax is a great idea.
Right.
I also know economists that thinks it's a bad idea. He said, but CBS should have presented it by stating that, all right, here's his flat tax plan. Here's the current tax system. Here's what Steve Forbes believed would work better. And here's why he believes it would work better. We now go to this economist who disagrees and this economist who agrees with him. And you could even bring in another Democrat candidate. You bring in two economists, another Democrat candidate from the opposite side, a politician to do it, and that would be fair.
Right.
Well, he brought it up to Dan Rather, and Dan Rather, I'll never forget that part of the book when Dan Rather responded, I fought for this country. What the hell are you talking about? I'm talking about bias.
We're talking about your work now.
He took it personally that you were not calling him a journalist.
Right.
Because that was the point. You're a political activist by the bias that you show here. And Bernard Goldberg, I'll never forget, a few years later, it was when Ann Coulter was writing her books, and you had, remember, she was on tour every 6 months, it seemed like back then.
She had a new book every 6 months, it seemed like,
And they said the right wing is selling books like crazy, and there's Bernard Goldberg in there, and it's like he's not part of the right wing. My point is it's the same with Bari Weiss. Bari Weiss, really, you can't look at her and say she is a right-wing conservative at all.
Yeah.
She simply is looking at saying we need to be more journalistic. We need to bring journalism in. And because the Democratic Party has gone so insane on the issues, and she's where a Democrat might have been 15 years ago, they view her as right-wing.
Yeah.
That's how bat soup crazy the Democratic Party has gone.
No, it is, and it's also where they see, I think, because you look at any of these activist journalists that have been in the media, for any amount of time, even just a few years, they believe they are right. They believe what they're doing is the right thing to do. That you should be an activist, that the role of a journalist, we'll go back to the BuzzFeed story on the dossier. And the editor actually put a note when they posted that story and said, we can't really confirm that everything in this dossier is true, but we're going to post it anyway. And when he was asked about it, he said, yeah, that's the role that we see our writers in today. That's how they see themselves.
Well, that might have been the wrong decision.
Well, the problem with it is that when you're wrong and you're an activist and you've invested everything into it, then it says everything about you.
Oh, and you go bankrupt a few years later.
Well,
you're out of business.
Yeah, well, sorry. I didn't know we were caring about BuzzFeed, but you're right. Yes.
Well, no,
exactly.
No, but that's the other point that I'm bringing up, that if you're going to be involved in a TV network right now and your numbers keep going down and down and down, and every poll shows that the public doesn't trust you because the liberal bias is so insane, forget about, because people assume, a lot of people, not all, but there are people that assume that media exists simply to promote, all media exists simply to promote a bias. And that's not true.
Yes,
they may promote a bias, but that's not the number one reason that they do it. Like our company does, the majority of companies that I've worked for in my life have been liberal. Mm-hmm. The management has been liberal. Mm-hmm. And I've been a conservative talk show host. I had three immediate bosses and radio station owners that were liberal who hired me. Mm-hmm. They didn't hire me because they said, well, we need some conservative bias here on the radio station. It was a format. It was a format that made money. Mm-hmm. And so my point is, when you look at the networks, that they're not doing well when it comes to news. Somebody comes in and says, well, okay, number one, this is horrible, the bias you have, but it's also an opportunity maybe to get billing up if we can if we can change it. I don't know if CBS can change it. I don't know if that it could be a crapshoot for them.
Well,
I don't
the
know.
delivery method could be outdated.
Yes.
Because there's that's been going on for quite some time. I did watch I watched a news program, and anchors sitting at a desk reading the intro, go to the reporter, and it was a clip on YouTube, but it was about a 15-minute clip, and I'm thinking to myself, man, this seems like I'm watching something from the past. The fact that they're still, because most people get their news from the phone. They could, if they see something's going on, all of a sudden, and a lot of these news organizations are streaming live if there is breaking news. So people seek out the news. When Elon Musk said, you're the media, that's part of it. Because we seek out the news, we seek out the facts. When we hear something, it's almost like they're the leader, or they throw out the lead and say, this is going on, tune in 15 minutes and we'll give you details. Well, by 15 minutes, we already have our own details. We found them ourselves. And that business model itself could be outdated. I don't know what you do at CBS News to improve the business model. If it is being out, if the delivery method of it is being, again, is growing older and older and basically fading into the distance.
When you do what we do, you can't wait for the news.
No.
You go search it out. But it's not just us. It's
it's everybody.
It's where the public is going, because you can make your life much more efficient. You can do the things you don't need to wait for news anymore. You don't sit there and you don't have to go, okay, I need to find out, what is the opinion? I need to wait till this comes on. Now I know we have listeners that wait for us to come on at midnight, but the fact is, you can listen to us during the day in the podcast if you want to know what we think. Mm-hmm. And everyone is doing that now. But you don't have to wait for it, but simply news presentation. Because most of the time, when people say, I can't wait till you come on the air, they already know what the issue is. They simply want to know our opinion.
Right, yeah.
They already know what the news items
Right.
are for the day. It's like, okay, there's a news item. What are you guys thinking?
Because it's a combination of breaking it down and having, the analysis of it all. But just a discussion about it, I think, people in their own minds, whether they're participating in that directly in that discussion or not, they're breaking it down. They're breaking the ideas down as well, which is the best thing about what we do. We love doing that.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller. Compliance, Safety, Accountability is the FMCSA Safety, Compliance, and Enforcement Program. Its goal is to hold motor carriers and drivers accountable for highway safety. CSA does this by assessing the safety performance of motor carriers and drivers. Motor carriers are assigned a score. The carrier is then grouped with other carriers who have had a similar number of safety events. Carrier scores within the group are then ranked. Low scores are better. So carriers with the highest scores are those that are most likely to be targeted for intervention by the FMCSA. Interventions range in severity and may include warning letters, roadside, off-site, or on-site inspections, civil penalties, or operation out-of-service orders. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Play this quick audio cut here because the shutdown, all the talk of the town.
We need 5 Democrat senators to pull their heads out of their asses and go work for the United States of America.
That's Representative Mass there yesterday, Republican.
All right.
Talking about it. So as we can see, but if you look at it, for example, just to show you, because we're talking about the media changing, CNBC, CNN will have some of this audio all coming up. They're not buying it from the Democrats.
No.
At all. CNN doing the polling on it, as we brought yesterday. They did polling that we brought you yesterday, saying the Republicans are actually gaining support. And then yesterday they did one on climate change. The public, even Democrats, it's like only 27% of Democrats believe now that climate change is a serious thing.
Yeah.
And this is after we did the story yesterday of Bill Gates saying, well, okay, we're not really doomed. We need to look at what the possible effects are, which isn't the end of civilization at all. But whatever problems we have to look through technology to help solve those problems, because we're not going to reduce the global warming gases in this world because of places like China, India, whatever.
Right.
Wow, that sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Sounds like something we've been saying for years.
Red Eye Radio live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. The president met with Xi in China, declares an immediate cut to the fentanyl tariffs, but we don't know. But CNBC reporting one thing, Wall Street Journal doesn't give any numbers.
Right.
On it. What was CNBC saying?
Well, CNBC is reporting. So here's the headline. It's the top headline right now at CNBC.com. Trump cuts fentanyl tariffs on China to 10%. And has reached a rare earth deal with Beijing. You click on that headline as it's a link to the story, and it says he will cut fentanyl tariffs on Beijing by half to 47%. Because they say at the Wall Street Journal, I think it is, their version of it said, the 20% tariff could be cut in half. And they're saying could be. Trump meets with Xi, declares immediate cut to fentanyl tariffs.
And then the story says President Trump says the U.S. expects to lower tariffs on China in exchange for cooperation in cracking down.
Right. So theirs isn't saying that it's happening. They did. Again, it's a bit confusing based on what CNBC, the two different versions that CNBC.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Here's what the Wall Street Journal is saying: if the U.S. were to lower the fentanyl tariff on Chinese goods to 10%, it would bring the average tariff on most Chinese imports, currently around 55%, to around 45%.
Okay, that makes sense, and that's what I wondered during the break.
Right.
The overall tariff, not the fentanyl tariff, because the fentanyl tariff was only at 20%. So if that's cut, the fentanyl tariff is a separate tariff. If that's cut to 10%, then the overall tariff comes down to 45, 47%, somewhere in that range. So then the rare earth deal, they're saying 1 year agreement. I'm thinking, wait a minute. You should make it 1 year and 1 month. Get it past the midterms. Just to be clear. It was reported yesterday that that China took on a soybean delivery from the U.S. That was I don't know. I wouldn't say it was a massive deal because everybody would still wait and see based on the meeting with Xi. How's this going to play out long term? It certainly seems like there is a calmer tone between the two. Although the president did also mention that the U.S. will start actively doing nuclear tests, and he wasn't clear on that. This was on his social media where he posted that, and he's not clear. Do you mean missile testing? Do you mean delivery?
Right. Because he said equal to what our
Russia
enemies, Russia and China, are
doing. And they're doing missile testing.
Right. They're doing missile testing. So the thought is it's not going to be nuclear testing. It's going to be basically ballistic missile testing. And
right. He also made a comment.
But aren't we doing that anyway?
I know. And he also made a comment that I found interesting because he was asked about Russia and basically the nuclear threat, that Russia, because someone asked him about Russia doing some testing, and he says, well, we have a nuclear sub right off their coast, and we don't need that kind of range to deliver it. And he says, but frankly, we want the war over. And he said that the war should have only taken a week. That invading Ukraine should have only taken a week. And I thought, that sounds very pro-Russia, doesn't it? Now, I know a lot of people expected it to be over very quickly. They thought Russia taking Ukraine probably not going to take very long. But when he said, and I'm putting this in the category of, okay, that's just a Trumpism.
See, I didn't take it that way. I took it that they should have won this war in a week, which means they can't win it. And so
That's exactly what I was saying.
you were saying it was very pro-Russia. I would say it was anti-Russia.
Well, it's both, because it's saying it should have been over, and he wants the war to be over. Because my question would be, are you saying you want to finish it and conquer Ukraine?
I took it as, we know you're weak.
I know, but that's it. He left it open and didn't clarify, is my point.
Right.
And so that's the, which is,
No,
I know
because,
I'm splitting hairs here.
Well, and the reason I say that is based on the other stuff. I think that the missile testing was not a message to China as much it was as a message to Russia.
Oh, I think so too.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and again, I know I'm splitting hairs here, but and I think he wants this whole thing to be over. I think he mentioned it the other day when he was in Korea. He said, who would have thought we would have peace in the Middle East before we get a deal done between, peace between Russia and Ukraine. And the crowd was kind of nodding and laughing. I was actually listening to it on the radio. But he says, yeah, you guys are nodding your heads, which clearly those in the audience were agreeing with him. And, by the way, what is that missile? What do those missile tests look like? I'm very interested in that. But how much of a show of power, I guess, works in the case of a Putin?
Well, by stating that the war should have been over and we have a sub right there.
Yeah.
And I go back, and I know it sounds ridiculous to people and anybody who just hears it for the first time, but I go back to the Jason Alexander podcast. Yes, George Costanza from Seinfeld, when he had Jeff Skunk Baxter on, who played with Steely Dan and the Doobie Brothers, who is one of the world's most renowned experts on missile defense systems. And the Pentagon has called him in. We need to do war games, and he takes the opposition.
Right.
And it's funny because when he was talking about it, he was talking about the one time when he was doing something, recording something with Ringo Starr, because he's just an excellent guitarist. I mean, he's just superb. And they said, well, you're going to be able to stay here long enough, or some men in black suits going to come in and take you away. And they all laughed. A little while later, two guys show up at the door of a studio. He's got to leave with them.
Yeah.
But he was asked specifically, Jason Alexander asked him, what is the power of the military of Russia? And this was here in the last 6 months. And he said, we don't view them as a threat.
No, I think that the word got out very, very
Right.
early on in this effort to conquer Ukraine.
Well, they're a threat, but we don't view their military. We don't view them as the biggest threat to the United States. Of course, it would be China, and he does not believe that their military, and I think we've seen it, is that well prepared to run any kind of war.
Well, I asked the question, what is a show of power? How does a show of power, or what would a show of power look like in terms of one that would be effective on Putin? And then I'll back away from that question and ask, does it need to be a show of power for Putin if morale is all but gone within the ranks in Russia? It's not so much a show of power for Putin as it is the rest of Russia, including his top military people in Russia, know that this president, President Trump, is serious, and you take him seriously on all matters regarding war.
Well, when you look at, for example, it was 2 days ago, the Wall Street Journal put out an editorial stating, are we going to let Israel go and take out Hamas? Why are we giving Hamas this extended, you can take your time in giving us the bodies.
Right.
And all of a sudden, boom, Israel went in. And then Trump reiterated yesterday, no, you either do what we say or you're gone.
Right.
But it's exactly what we said the problem would be. There was another poll that was done, I'll have it coming up, about what the people in Gaza think. The vast majority side with Hamas. As we have said, none of this is over yet. But the fact is, you got the hostages back, and the best that the president can do, and so far he's done it. I mean, the question was, okay, are we still being too lenient? And then, boom, Israel went back in again, and the president reiterated, no, you've got to do what we say. That's what the victory is. The victory isn't that you're going to have perfect harmony in Gaza. It's that if Hamas doesn't do what we tell them to do, we take them out.
Yes.
That's what it has to be.
Right.
It's not about whether, well, we get peace and it's a beautiful resort. It's constantly challenging and killing more Hamas members.
Right.
And leadership.
Right.
That's what it's about.
It's essentially enforcement of phase 1 and 2 of this entire 20-point plan.
It's the willingness to enforce. The plan means nothing.
Right. Yeah, without enforcement, it's nothing. It's nothing.
Yeah. The tough talk means nothing.
Yeah.
To the terrorists. They don't care.
Right.
But I think, with Ukraine and Russia, and I don't know, when the president said it didn't affect me in either way, because did I believe that it was going to be, once Russia went in and the stalemate happened, that Putin, would just fall over or and just say, okay, I'm going to pull out? No. I don't, when the president said that, I went, well, whatever. I really didn't make a acknowledgement or agree or disagree with him on it. It was like, well, it's war. And both of them are a huge problem. As to solving it, and the president doing what he did yesterday, I believe yesterday, whatever the day is, he did it.
Yeah,
because of the time zone difference. I think what he's telling Russia, the message is, we know you don't have the power to win, and we can make your life. We may not be able to get you to move out of Ukraine or do a deal immediately, but Putin, I'll make your life a living hell within your own country.
Well, and when he was in, it was a couple of days ago now, I think, in Korea, he was talking about how the tariff threats have brought about some of the peace deals. And he cited, look, we've gotten a total of 8 deals done, 8 peace deals done in 8 months.
But then again, that could come back and bite him, because the arguments before the Supreme Court happen next week. And as we've said, you and I had the conversation off the air, not on the air. We didn't even get a chance to talk about it yet. Mm-hmm. When he said that, I went, well, that's going to be presented against him, because he's saying he's using emergency power because the United States is being harmed. Mm-hmm. And then when he came out and said, well, because of the TV ad in Ontario, I'm going to raise tariffs. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not a security or emergency with the United States.
Right.
And peace deals between Cambodia and Thailand, and using tariffs, which is taxing American companies to solve that problem, is not an emergency for the United States. And so that's the problem that he sets up by publicly saying these things. Right. Is the Supreme Court's going to look at it and say, that's not the authority was never given that the president has an emergency power for tariffs in order to bring Cambodia and Thailand together. Congress could do it, but the president doesn't have that authority.
Is do those parties involved believe it at the time, believe that threat, what are they going to hedge their bets on, right? And he used the 250% tariff as an example. And he actually said, this is what I was surprised by, 250% tariffs, nobody's ever going to pay that. That means no trade. And I thought, interesting.
Right.
Because he's right on that.
Right, but it doesn't matter.
Something we've said.
But when it comes to the law of the United States, did Congress give him the power to have peace negotiations between Cambodia and Thailand by using emergency power on taxes?
But at the time of those negotiations and those peace deals, do they believe it? Do the other parties believe it?
It doesn't matter if they believe it.
Well, what are they betting on? They did believe it because they got peace deals done. And that was his point.
Right. That's not my point. My point is strictly on the tariffs and how the Supreme Court looks at the law from Congress. 866-90-RED-I.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-I.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. No, I agree with you. Using the tariff threat in order to get two nations to have a peace deal, yeah. Could it have been effective? Absolutely. The point I was making is the Supreme Court looking at it next week will be saying in 1977, when Congress gave the president that authority.
And maybe that's why they were
Emergency
working
authority.
to get those peace deals done, because maybe they believe, look, there's a chance we won't have this kind of leverage going forward.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome, and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. You know, interesting politically what's going on right now, Eric, with the president across the seas making trade deals and peace deals and everything else. He has remained really above the fray of all of the shutdown talk.
Yeah, it has been.
Yeah. And when you look at it, the CNN poll that we looked at yesterday, the Republicans in Congress are up 5 points.
Yeah.
Trump isn't a part, really, of this debate the last week.
Right.
Really hasn't been.
Right.
And then with everything with Israel and all that, he's remained above the fray.
Mm-hmm.
And so the debate is actually being had between the leadership of the Republicans in Congress and their foot soldiers, and the Democrat leadership and their foot soldiers.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. And when you see, for example, CNBC, CNN, you can see that they're calling out. They're calling out the Democrats on this. And I want to play this. This is some audio cut. This is Senator Peter Welch of Vermont on with Joe Kernan on CNBC. And here we go. He makes a really great point about the Obamacare subsidies, saying, so much of the problem here is Obamacare. And you want to force this thing through because you truly don't want to have a discussion on it.
Yeah.
Because it's more than just this particular continuing resolution. It's about the fact that Obamacare costs are out of control. Here's part of this discussion.
All critique of shutdown is a tactic. It really is not something that's desirable.
You can vote.
But there is
vote.
a real issue about health care.
You're always reasonable when you come on, and I've said and I've said that. And you're almost conceding that you should not be shutting down the government, that the Democrats should not be doing that. And I don't think you'd ever say that extortion is the way that Republicans should get their way if they don't like the IRA or they don't like overspending or whatever it is at any given point in time where the other party has a disagreement. This is not the way to do it. As far as Obamacare, you probably realize a lot of these premium increases are just built into Obamacare. The expiration of the pandemic subsidies is only a very small part of the increases. So that discussion has to be had about fixes to Obamacare so it doesn't keep spiraling, the costs don't keep spiraling. But you're not going to do that before we reopen the government. It's not going to happen. It's going to have to happen afterwards. Are you ready to vote with the Republicans to reopen the government at this point as a reasonable Democrat? Maybe others would follow you.
I'm not there yet, because we have had literally, Joe, no discussion whatsoever about how we're going to deal
This
with
is
these
the right
spikes
way to
in
do it,
premiums.
Senator? By people not getting paychecks at the TSA? This is extortion. You think this is the right way to do it? In your conscience, you think it's the right way to do it? I never thought I'd say that, Andrew, that it, as a human being, he always says that. As a human being, you think this is the right thing to do? That's your line.
Well, that's why Senator Harley on Have Our Bill to make sure that folks get the nutrition that they absolutely need is why the president is paying the troops. But there is something that we've all got a knowledge here, okay? The administration has had an attack on health care, as we know it. The Medicaid cuts were immense. They're going to have real impacts on individuals, and they're going to have impacts on state budgets.
So he's not addressing. He's not addressing the actual.
Right. Yeah. Do you believe this is the right way to go about it? This extortion, as Joe calls it.
And we know what the big, beautiful bill did when it came to Medicaid.
Right.
It didn't cut off people that were needy.
Right.
It cut off, as we all know, it cut. And it's interesting, though, how the really focus has been the Obamacare subsidies. Republicans probably would be smart to bring it back to the fact of how the Democrats want that loophole where states can pay for illegal immigrants and then get reimbursed by the federal government. That has been happening. So the payments weren't direct, but they were indirect.
Right, yeah.
And that still needs to be brought up. But as we know, they're not winning this. I think they know they're not. You and I were talking about some of the stories out there, the one CBS story, because you asked me, here in the last half hour, you said, you see that story where they said that there's like shadow negotiations going on and there's a ray of light? And I'm like, well, I'm looking at the CBS story that says there were signs of progress on ending the government shutdown for the first time in weeks on Wednesday, with senators expressing cautious optimism about bipartisan talks aimed at resolving the impasse. Senator John Thune said in the morning that talks among rank-and-file senators have ticked up significantly, and the conversations might be a precursor of things to come. Senators pointed to a number of upcoming deadlines as motivating factors, including pay for the military and an upcoming freeze on the benefits under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Other senators did not see a breakthrough as imminent. Senator Tillis of North Carolina said he's not seen evidence that talks have progressed to formal negotiations that could end a stalemate.
And the one I saw was at CNN, rank-and-file senators engage in shadow negotiation in search for shutdown. And then, in the story, it talks about one of their goals is to resolve the impasse on health care and reopen the government for the next few weeks, which means, and this is what I wondered the other day, are they still looking at only opening the government until Thanksgiving? Because that date, I think it came up, November 21st? And it was like, well, you're going to be hitting right there. Days before Thanksgiving, you're going to shut it down again, which means people at airports traveling for Thanksgiving are going to be impacted by this. And is that what you want? How far do you want to kick the can? And at the end of it all, it's the Democrats cannot win this. Let's say they came to a deal and opened it for a few weeks, and it gets to November 21st. You're not going to win it November 21st either. This is not going to politically, this is not going to be the football you want. The Democrats aren't good, because it's even worse. Not only Thanksgiving travel, but then you're looking at, all right, if it goes on like it's going on now, getting into the holidays with some government workers not getting paid during the holidays, you're making it worse. For the Democrats, this isn't going to work for you.
Yeah, we were talking about this off the air, I think the other day, and you were saying, well, remember, this only goes to right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think the magic date is the 21st of November.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Yeah.
And it's like, so they get a deal done,
Yeah.
and they don't get a deal done for another week.
Yeah.
Then it's really another 2 weeks, and then we're boom right back again, and then that's right in the middle of the holidays. Now, the only thing that would save that one is the fact that at that point, Republicans might make Democrats stay in town for the holidays, and therefore...
Yeah, they'll vote to save their own butts from missing their holiday break. Yeah. Yeah, and I think I did briefly mention it on the air because I'm doing the math on the timeline here, and it's not going to work for you if you're a Democrat. It's, in fact, worse. You better be working towards something that gets you past November 21st. And I don't know what that looks like. I really don't know what that looks like because the GOP just isn't going to. Right now, the polls show it. The GOP isn't getting the brunt of the blame right now.
If you, let's say a week from now, you make a deal. Well, then you've got 2 weeks before this continuing resolution ends, and you're not going to solve the subsidy problem in 2 weeks.
I think it's what I said yesterday. It's, all right, let's say they get a deal done, by this Friday, and, you're already...
3 weeks. All right.
Then you're already, and then that's, which is what the CNN story says. But you're kicking the can 3 weeks. You're going to be back here at not only 3 weeks, but right at the start of the holiday travel season. But also this is when a lot of families don't spend any money until the 1st of December and the 15th of December because that's all they've got. And that's when they're going to be doing their shopping. So you're saying, some of these government workers are going to go without paychecks during the holidays?
I think that what might solve this one is the fact that Democrats are getting the blame. If Democrats get the blame for SNAP, they will have to, at that point, crumble.
Right.
And so we're right back to where we are again. If it doesn't work this time, there's going to have to be a point somewhere. I was listening to some audio from Fox earlier where they were talking about Mamdani and everything else, and Bill Maher. They played Bill Maher from last week saying, this is a referendum. The Mamdani thing's not just New York City; it's a referendum on on where the Democratic Party is going. I read a National Review article saying the Civil War coming up now in climate change between Democrats, something that we talked about yesterday after Gates came out and said, "Hey, this isn't a doomsday scenario anymore." Michael Schellenberger talking about the fact that we've got the evidence now. The evidence exists. We know the top scientists lied about sea level changes.
Right.
They had no evidence that the sea level was going to rise. They lied to the American people. They lied to the world about it.
Right.
The world's top scientists lied, to the world. So you're getting to the, you're getting to the point, and CNN even did a poll on climate change. Only 27% of Democrats really care about climate change now. And so all these things that the Democrats used before, they can't win on race anymore. They can't win on identity politics. It's losing for them. They can't win on the radical transgender movement anymore. They can't win. Another poll out that I saw the New York Post did, 2-1 people still in favor of mass deportation. And, you look at all the other different things out there, eventually somebody in the Democratic Party is going to have to say, this isn't working for us.
Right.
When's that going to be? Now, if they can't win, because what they're hoping is on the snap, they can somehow blame the Republicans if it doesn't go that way. And one of the problems you had this week was 2 of the big unions, government unions, coming out and saying we need to get a deal now, do the continuing resolution, make it clean, get it done, pay the people and negotiate as you should be negotiating, but don't use the employees and don't use people who need help as your bargaining chip.
Right.
And so that hurt the Democrats right there. And so the only thing I can say is the snap has the potential to end it if Democrats are blamed.
Right.
And then will you have a redo of this entire scenario again, or will they have to come to some type of decision and some type of solution? We may be getting to the point. Now, remember, don't pay attention to me on this because I thought the point was in 2018 where the Democrats had to start reversing, the insanity. Shows you how wrong I was in predicting that one. I said, they got to stop it. They can't continue going down this insane road. And here we are 8 years later.
Yeah.
Because think about it.
Right.
It was right after the election of 2018 that I said it. I said they can't keep going down this insanity, this insane path. They have to change, don't they? And they have just doubled down on the insanity.
Well, yeah, 3 weeks from now, let's say they got a deal done in the next couple of days. And 3 weeks from now, if we're back in the same boat, it won't be shocking because the Democrats will clearly have not learned their lesson. Now, again, it comes with greater weight during the holidays. There's a greater impact. And we've been saying all along. By the way, none of what Gary and I are talking about reflects what we think on spending or cuts or anything like this. We're talking about the political reality of a government shutdown.
Right.
Period.
Right.
So when we look at, again, you get into December, you want people December 1st without a paycheck? Because if your point now is to get people a paycheck here, let's say they do it over the next couple of days, and they get people paid, and then they get SNAP benefits, reinstated, and everything's fine, well, then your 3-week deal doesn't get you to the 1st of next month.
Yeah, you're right back.
You're right
all
back
right,
there.
SNAP benefits disappearing again.
Exactly.
December 10th, December 15th.
Right. Yep.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Do you prepare smoked meats like ribs, brisket, or pulled pork? USDA food safety expert Meredith Carruthers says there are some tips for you to know to keep food safe from foodborne bacteria. First,
starting with a clean smoker, a lot of food particles get charred and onto the grates, making sure you're scraping off those bits before you put new ones on there.
Marinate or brine your meats before smoking them. Carruthers points out a couple of food safety considerations.
It's just possible for juices from the raw meat and poultry to kind of splatter around your kitchen or to get other places. So cleaning as you go and sanitizing after to make sure those surfaces are cleaned. As you marinate those items, they can go in the fridge for 1 to 2 days usually.
Using a Ziploc freezer bag both for storage and refrigeration of marinating meats and transporting from the fridge to the smoker is one way to prevent spillage of juices and avoid cross-contamination. I'm Ron Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, look, what we actually believe is, and we stated it before, what the Democrats want is, and we'll play, in fact, some audio coming up on the bottom of the hour from one Democratic representative who said, well, yeah, we should just pass the CR and then have a vote. They want a vote on extending the Obamacare subsidies.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, if we get that promise from the Republicans after we pass the CR, we'll do it. Well, Republicans actually don't want that. Republicans don't want to give all the new subsidies. They believe it's too much because then you're extending the Obamacare subsidies, which are supposed to be just temporary, and the Democrats would be daring Republicans to vote against it instead of not having a vote and negotiating through the normal process of what changes we have to make in Obamacare so the failure of Obamacare doesn't continue with these skyrocketing costs. And the Democrats don't want that. Because what the Democrats want, this is all about the fact, and we've talked about it before, this is very simple. Democrats have the ability in any state that is a blue state to pass a law and have state health care. It's failed everywhere they've tried it because they don't wish to pay for it. They want the federal government to do it because they can have future generations pay for whatever health care you want without having any type of cost controls or competition.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Yeah, we've stated this a number of times that what the Democrats want in healthcare. They don't want any changes in Obamacare.
Right.
You know, and let me play this audio here because this is Representative Josh Gottheimer, Democrat, talking on Fox about what he would agree to, and he believes Democrats would agree to, and he's saying that Thune is offering this. Here we go.
Would you call on Senate Democrats to just go ahead, pass the CR so that that won't happen and that you can continue to negotiate?
Well, I think we actually, I mean, it doesn't solve the health insurance problem, the premium problem. I think what's a very fair deal and is open the government and let's just vote on extending these premiums for a year or more. Well, I don't understand what's so hard about that. And by the way, Senator Thune has offered that, I believe. He said we'll have he offered up a vote that we can actually have a vote on extending these premiums. I think when put to it, you're going to see Democrat and Republicans, senators and congressmen and women want to vote for that. Why would you not want to vote to extend help with these tax credits, get premiums down for people? People are getting hurt right now in their pocketbooks. They're really need help. So why not give them some help?
What he fails to mention is the premiums are skyrocketing because of the failure of Obamacare.
Yeah, right.
And so is it time to look and say, wait a minute, you called it the Affordable Care Act. It's not. The things that you promised didn't come true.
Right.
And so in these negotiations, what the Republicans are stating is we want to work, we want to work on the basic infrastructure of it and change it and make it more competitive so the prices aren't skyrocketing way over what is happening in the private sector healthcare business. That's what you sell to the American public. Now, in order to get there, well, first off, if that's what they want, well, then everything else from Medicaid you've won on.
Yeah.
The stuff from the big, beautiful bill, if he's saying that this is a Democrat stating we'll go just for the subsidies on health care, everything else then he's saying isn't going to be, that's over. They've said we're not going to go, at least he's said that, we're not going to go there, just make it a straight up or down vote. Probably in order to be able to get a negotiation, you and I both know you're not going to negotiate that in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't see that.
And you and I've talked about that earlier. If, for example, let's say they have it done by tomorrow because they just can't let the snap go. And so Republicans say, okay, we'll have an up or down vote on it. And it's the time limit. Okay, we will continue the subsidies for another 3 months as we negotiate how to make Obamacare more affordable.
Mm-hmm.
If you say extended for a year, you're going to get flack.
Yeah.
Now, how much flack, I don't know. I don't know how much concern there really is from Republicans on this. We know.
Well, I mean, we saw the poll.
Right.
We talked about the poll the other day that showed, where are the American people on Obamacare and health care? I mean, clearly, if someone is directly affected by it, and everybody is directly affected by premiums, but how many are affected by Obamacare premiums? That's the question, is what does the GOP believe the impact will be politically? Because if you look at it and say, all right, from one perspective, well, we could vote on an up or down deal for 1 year and move it and kick the can down the road because it won't hurt us with our own rank and file GOPers. Or the other one is, no, we can hold the line because it's not going to hurt us. It's not going to hurt the party. The Democrats aren't going to be able to use this.
Or if you're going to extend it, you extend it, as you said earlier, I got this from you, you extend it for 11 months.
Yes. Well, 13, you get it. Yeah, 13 months, you get it past the midterm.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah, you pass them at not 11, it's 13 months. Right, 13 months.
Right. Get it past the midterm.
12 months and 2 weeks.
Right, exactly. 12 months and 9 days.
In order to win in the midterm, and then you start over again on the actual the actual negotiations, because you're not going to, as we said earlier, you're not going to, if it ended tomorrow, you're not going to be able to negotiate what the Republicans want Obamacare to be and come up with some type of compromise on whatever the Republicans wish to come up with to make Obamacare more competitive.
Right.
Whatever they're going to need to do, they're going to need to sell to the American public. You're not going to get that done in 2 weeks.
Right.
So I can see that. And by the way, just so you know, again, I want to make sure we're talking the politics of it, what the solution's going to be. My opinion, as I've stated before, is the broad opinion on the Democrats and everything about nationalized health care is the fact that Democrats don't actually wish to pay for it. That's why it was defeated in California. That's why it was defeated in Colorado. That's why it was defeated in Vermont. Even in the most socialist places, they want somebody else to pay for their health care. And in this case, they want future generations to pay for your health care. They want their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren. They want to saddle them with the debt of health care. They don't want to come up with a health care system that's more competitive. They don't want to come up with a health care system that is actually better and provides more medical care. They simply want to be able to say, we've got health care that somebody else is going to pay for.
Right.
Yep. Otherwise, you'd have it in California, you'd have it in Colorado, you'd have it in Vermont. And as I've said before, tell me where I'm wrong.
Yeah,
and that's the part that upsets me. That's different than how do you negotiate this, the reality of negotiating it in Congress right now, and where do you go with it?
Right. Yeah, look, a 3-week deal isn't going to do you anything. It gets it off the page for today, and that's about it. Because again, you get a clean CR, and then November 21st, you're looking at the deadline essentially for people getting paid, which is the first of the month, December. You're thinking about your TSA at that point during Thanksgiving travel wouldn't be getting paid. You're talking about a nightmare in terms of a shortage at airports.
Or do you pass it for do you pass it for 3 weeks? Because I'm looking at all the possibilities. You pass it for 3 weeks. Thune is saying, no, we'll have a vote on it because he knows they can't get to 60 in the Senate. Because the entire point would be, all right, even if you could get there in the House, you can't get to 60 votes in the Senate. But that's where, at that point, you would say, okay, we're not going to extend it for 2 years. We're not going to extend it for 1 year. We'll extend it for 3 months as we work on a solution to make Obamacare more affordable. And then you get the 60 votes on that one.
Maybe. Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out.
Well, because
there
if
are no
you're-
odds attached to it.
If the promise is only a vote, if the first promise, the initial promise is only a vote, we can do a vote.
Yeah.
We're not going to get to 60. I was thinking about that earlier. We're not going to get to 60, but we'll do a vote.
And what's the vote on? Is the vote for a year? Is the
Right.
vote for 6 months?
Right. But you can't be where we are right now politically 3 weeks from now.
And the question is not where the Democrats actually stand on this. The question is, where do the Republicans? Do the Republicans really want to reform Obamacare?
Well, this is my greatest concern, because then we get back to what you and I actually think about this whole thing. And that is, well, there's not going to be any real reform. You're not going to really – I don't have any faith that the party is going to do anything to fix the situation and get us to a more efficient system for the taxpayer. There's no pressure to do that. I don't hear that. The age of Doge is over. In fact, it never really existed. And so does the GOP look at it as, okay, in mid-January, mid-February, we can do something and not get the political heat that we're getting now because nobody cares about it. And we kick it past this right now, this crisis right now of people not getting paid, this political crisis, if you want to call it that, of people not getting paid, SNAP benefits and everything else. And we'll do something in 3 months. But I don't have any confidence they're going to do anything to help the taxpayer. Obamacare is going to be very much alive and kicking.
Well, I mean, the concern isn't that great for the taxpayer and the debt.
That's what I mean. There's nobody screaming about it. The age of Doge actually never existed in the first place. It was a unicorn. And here we are. $38 trillion. So, again, there truly is no hope. This is why this whole political football thing really is fading and fading and fading and fading and fading. Because for those few of us who are fiscal conservatives, there's no real hope that the GOP is going to do something about it, that there's going to be any fiscal sanity. Number one, they don't have the votes to get it done in the first place. But on the bigger picture, they don't have the will within their own party because there's no calling for it from the rank and file.
I've heard Johnson talk about it when they're all standing up. There are certain things we need to do. We need to redo Obamacare. We need to make it more competitive. They're talking about it, the leadership, how dedicated and how passionate the rank and file are with it. I mean, you you go on X and it's like, MTG, when did she become a liberal?
Right.
See that all,
yeah.
We need to pass these subsidies. We need to get it done. And it's just like, okay.
Because she's got two family members who are going to be directly affected. Well, at least she said it out loud.
Yeah.
We know where she stands.
And so she's speaking out loud about it. We said the biggest problem is once you start, ethanol's the perfect example of it. Everyone knows they passed the ethanol subsidies because of the planet was doomed because of climate change.
Yep.
Al Gore pushed for it for years.
Yep.
W signed it into law.
Yep. And even Al Gore, since it's been 15 years since he admitted he lied on that.
Yeah.
In terms of the impact.
Right. And after Bush signed it, what was it, in 2007? December 2007? And by March of that year, everybody went, oops, We just did the scientific analysis from farm to tank. It puts more global warming gases into the atmosphere. Oops. Have we got rid of the subsidies?
No, we're looking to increase them.
Yes, exactly. It's like, that's the problem. You can't stop. Even if it's a bad program and does the opposite of intended.
You can't roll it back. Can't roll it back. We should use some of that corn for school lunches. Another one you can't roll back.
Might not be the right coin or the right corn, though.
It's a different corn. Well, we're talking about school lunches.
Right. 866-9. What do you get for free?
Right.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Clocks change this weekend, don't they?
They do, yes. We fall back. That's I'm all about that. Getting an extra hour in on the weekend.
There isn't any controversy this time around.
No,
I know they were speaking. I don't know if it was a senator. It was a Senate was speaking on it this week, and I forgot who it was. It was a Republican saying, "No, we got to do this, otherwise the kids are out. It's pitch dark."
Yeah, pick one and go with it. You know, just pick one and go with it.
I'll have problems sleeping all next week.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.